take projection.
It's Wednesday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we've got a slam-packed edition.
We're back
of the Slam.
after a week off.
We're back. I kind of flaked last week. I was fucking tired after being on vacation, and quite frankly, I didn't watch much wrestling while I was out of town. So I was like, fuck it, let's take a week off and come back strong with Grand Slam. So let's jump right into it. We got a ton of stuff to cover from Grand Slam and some big news in the world of WWE this week as well. So the first thing on Grand Slam from Dynamite last week that I've got was the Kingston versus Claudio match and how satisfying that was to watch.
But it was everything we thought it'd be, right? Intense, physical, stiff. And they went out there, the crowd, like we knew would be, was just bonkers for Mr. Eddie Kingston, hometown. And these two guys put on a show to start off the night. And we got the satisfying, Eddie said, at the end of this, you're going to shake my hand, do business. And I thought that was such a good little wrinkle, right? Claudio, the ref not giving the belt to Kingston just yet. Claudio shakes his hand and just kind of reluctantly pushes the title to him and goes about his way. I don't think this is the end of this rivalry between these two. I think this is going to be a thing. These two are going to be natural enemies. Yeah. As long as they're in this company. But, man, this was a great match. I was down for it all the way.
Yeah, I mean, you could keep this one going and it wouldn't hurt my feelings either. It's cool to see Eddie with two belts.
Does it make it a little bit more, I don't want to say not as satisfying, but this is the Ring of Honor world title and not the AEW world title.
Yeah, but you could work your way up to that one, right?
Yeah, there is something, though, where I was like, man, but these guys aren't going to be around forever. Injuries happen, and if you have the world title with MJF is obviously tied up in a bunch of different storylines at the moment right now. You need to bump Ring of Honor, I'm sure, boost its ratings a little bit. Why not give it to Kingston? It looks like they're going to put all the belts on him now. He's got this match coming up at Wrestle Dream against Shibata for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. He might be Eddie 3 belts by the time this podcast rolls around next week.
He just got re-signed, too. Did you see that?
Well, yeah. You got to keep him around.
Yeah.
Got to keep him around.
Like, I think the day before I saw that they just kind of quietly put it out there that he was not going to be taking many, if any at all, indie bookings for a while. And then the next day, they're like, yeah, he's re-signed with AEW. I'm like, okay, he got paid. Eddie 2 belts, soon to be probably Eddie 3 belts. I don't see how they take it off of him at this point. That's the only thing that's picking nits here just a little bit. He's got this match coming up against Shibata, which I guess is for all the belts. Seems like there's no way that Shibata is going to have all these belts. So, you can already kind of tell, the who's going to win this match here. And I don't know, there's more of a story to tell with Eddie. Even though he is right now at the top of the mountain, is he still going to have that doubt? Is he still going to be the old Eddie Kingston, the guy who believes he was never good enough, who other people thought he was never good enough? It's one thing to get at the top of the mountain. It's another thing to stay there. That's what they always say. So, yeah, and what do they do with it? Because that was, Hangman's big story. And then he got the belt and
they botched it.
They kind of botched it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a botch job. So we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't happen here with Kingston because he is massively over, massively entertaining, and one of my favorites to watch right now for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've got a ton to cover, so I say let's keep going. And we got Guevara versus Jericho. Jericho gets the win. Sammy kicks him in the nuts after they hug, and then Callis walks out to the ring with Sammy. And we can go ahead and include this part of the story from Rampage as well. Rampage was fucking fun the other night. Just let me say that we don't have a lot to cover because we would be here all day if we covered most of the stuff from Rampage. But that was fun. But the big moment from Rampage that I do have in the notes is that Kenny Omega saved Jericho from the Callis family beatdown, which I thought was pretty interesting. Should have seen it coming, but I was still surprised that it happened.
So this was all leading up again. They're promoting this Wrestle Dream card. We're going to get Omega, Jericho, Kota Ibushi versus the Don Callis family, which I guess Will Ospreay is now a member of the Don Callis family, unofficially.
Unofficially, yeah. I mean, he's going to be the third guy.
He will be the third guy. So that should be a really good match. I wasn't surprised by Sammy Guevara turning on Jericho. You could kind of see it coming, right? They were going to do something. Sammy is just insanely talented, but man, they got to figure something out with him. He is back and forth.
Yeah, I thought he was
all
fixing
the
to
time.
go on a face run.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like when
this
they don't know
happens.
what to do with the guy, they just, if he's a baby face, they turn him heel. If he's a heel, they don't really turn him face, but like he just kind of stops being a bad guy for a little bit.
Get a new theme song.
Yeah, he gets a new theme song. Like, again, though, Sammy, so young, a lot of talent, but man, they have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Maybe this is it. I don't know. Could be. I mean, I tend to enjoy Don Callis. He's a good heel manager.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Callis fan. But I mean, you know, Sammy and Takeshita and Omega could be fucking badass.
Yeah. Or Ospreay, you mean?
Ospreay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This 6-way match should be good. Although, I don't know. I told you last time, I'm kind of dumb seeing Kota Ibushi. Like, it's clearly gone with that guy. Like, he's older. He's up there in age. I mean, it's cool. Would have been really cool if this would have been the Ibushi of 10 years ago. But it's not, you know. Unfortunately, Father Time gets all of us. And this guy just does not look like he has it anymore. But we'll see. This still should be a fun match nonetheless.
Yeah.
Wrestle Dream, for it to kind of just be thrown together, just, oh, fuck, here's another pay-per-view. I mean, they got some damn good matches on this card.
Yeah, they do. I can't, with it being Sunday, I don't know. I haven't decided for sure if I'm going to buy it yet or not.
It's tough with it being Sunday during the NFL football season.
Yeah.
This is a tough ask.
And then next week, which I mean, it's on Peacock, which we already pay for, but we got Fastlane from WWE.
Yeah.
A lot happening on Saturday night. I put this out on Twitter. Like, how do y'all deal with football and wrestling? Because we didn't have Collision last year during the football season, right?
Yeah.
So you would have an occasional pay-per-view, but like I'm watching Collision now basically on Sundays when I get up before NFL football. And like the other night, I was in Nashville during the day and came home and had recorded Bama and LSU, watched it late, started it at like 8 o'clock that night, 8 or 9. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to do on the weekends. And like, how do you manage all that fucking time now?
A lot of wrestling, a lot of football.
Yeah.
We're in, it's this time of year, we're always like, well, I don't know, wrestling, like historic, you know, Monday Night Raw historically used to have like, when they got to football season, you kind of didn't have to watch. And they kind of knew it. So they kind of just coasted a little bit till January, and then they kind of picked it back up. Every now and then they do a little thing like fucking Goldberg would come, or somebody would come back, you know. Mm-hmm. But they got a lot happening on both programs. They're not like coasting. I mean, there's a shit ton of stuff that's up. But the fucking Rock just came back.
Yeah.
Not too long. John Cena's back.
It's funny. I did see that on vacation. I just happened to turn on the TV, and I was mid-conversation with my wife, and I was like, oh, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about that when we get to WWE. Yeah, but there's a lot of shit that's popping off right now.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to consume.
Yeah, and Collision was pretty fucking good show Saturday night too.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just because it was Grand Slam, but like, you know, the last couple of weeks they hadn't been as hot, but it was fucking good the other night. So we'll get there too shortly. But next up, Phoenix versus Moxley was a little weird. And they had to pivot because of the injury to Moxley. But Phoenix gets the win for the International Championship.
Yeah, reports came out that Moxley got concussed, mild concussion. He kind of looked like, if you go back and watch that match, that dive that kind of started it where Phoenix landed on his head. Looks like Moxley might have bounced off the mat there.
Yeah.
Outside. Got his bell rung just a little bit. Moxley kind of staring up at the stars. Phoenix even went over and grabbed his hand, make sure he was okay.
Yeah, I know. I caught that and I was like, wait. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are such pros that, like, you know instantly when something's happening, right? Like when it didn't go right, and you kind of be like, shit, that didn't feel right. And yeah, they Moxley makes the call there, and Rick Knox completely fucks it up.
Yeah.
I mean, just a damn botch job from him,
Yeah.
which is just now. This is the second time he's failed to like recognize somebody's been hurt. I don't remember what the first time was, but I kept seeing that on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. The second time, I don't remember what the first time was. I should have looked that up before we started this. But yeah, like you got this is why WWE teaches their referees to count it like a shoot, right? Do it for real. It's the wrestler's job to kick out. And you could tell as soon as Rick Knox was like, up, shoulders up, Mox was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Count it.
Yeah.
Then we got to do this shit over again. And now, that puts the wrestler at risk too, because now they had to go back up and do the move again.
Yeah. And it felt so weird.
Yeah. Well, it felt weird because it wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen, right? So,
Baxter, stop.
Oh.
Sorry, my dog is just chewing stuff up.
Oh, he's about to chew all of it up.
Stop. Sometimes, like, I had to remind my son yesterday, I was like, he's still a puppy. He just turned 1, so he's still going to do puppy shit every once in a while. Please stop. But, yeah, that weird ending. And then to find out later, yeah, he was concussed. And I think you're right. I think it happened when he jumped on him right at the top, like coming down the ramp.
I think it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was at the beginning, and he wrestled through it, which in and of itself is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But you got to trust the performer in that respect, especially a guy like Mox who's been doing it for long to take care of himself. He makes the call. Phoenix gets the win. Phoenix, but what is Phoenix now the international champion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you think they do from here? Because they're not gonna.
Yeah, I don't know. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about is like when something happens like this and it wasn't a planned title exchange, then what?
Yeah. Because it kind of ruins what Orange Cassidy had built. Because you would hope that Moxley beats Cassidy and then Moxley goes on a long run. Mm-hmm. Well, now Moxley, this thing has now hot potatoed a little bit for circumstances that were outside of anybody's control. So now we will see what they do with it. Because this match, even Moxley and Phoenix was kind of just out of the blue. I mean, they built it up a little bit, but it wasn't like this wasn't a story that had been going on for months, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it will be interesting to see because now you got to figure it out.
Yeah. And I guess Moxley's probably going to take some time.
Yeah.
A little bit of time at least.
We've been saying for 6 months now? When's this man going to get his vacation? Longer than that.
I mean, yeah.
We were still working together.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but a concussion's nothing to play with, even mild cases.
Yeah,
because all the research has said now the worst thing you can do is get a concussion after a concussion, right, within a short time frame. Mm-hmm. That's where it gets really dangerous. So.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Toni Storm versus Saraya. This one was wild. This was one of the more wild matches we've seen in the women's division in a while. But yeah, Saraya retains and gets the win to keep her belt. But I thought this was a solid match as well.
Toni Storm's incredible. And that gimmick is getting over. Like we said it would. If you just give it time and let it ride, fans will get into it. There was a watch for the shoe sign in the front row. Okay. Shout outs to our boy Cabana Man Dan. A little bit of gimmick infringement on Toni Storm's part. Just a little bit. She got the shoe, started whooping somebody with it.
Yeah.
That's our boy CMD. That's his thing. Okay. He has held the one of I'm gonna whoop somebody with a shoe. And now it has trickled its way up to mainstream in AEW. Now Toni Storm is doing a little bit of gimmick, although it is a high heel. It's a little bit different than a flip-flop. But
Zelina Vega tried to get on it a little bit in Puerto Rico at that show.
She tried a little bit, but then she dropped that too. But I thought this match was great. The fans really wanted Toni Storm to win. They were all in her favor. Which is crazy, man, because when Toni Storm was a champion, she wasn't getting this kind of response from the crowd.
Right.
Just goes to show you how much a character, even in the short time that she's been on TV, what a character will do for you when the crowd gets behind it.
Yeah, and you and I talked the last time we recorded about AEW starting to up their character work a little bit with people like her and Roderick Strong. And then I saw a couple of different things on TikTok about it as well. Basically, other people saying the same thing, like take something silly and run with it and turn it into something. And now we got neck strong shirts and a whole neck strong segment on Collision. Just funny as shit. Yeah.
It's, AEW especially can stand to have segments of the show that feel different, right? Like you get the Danielson versus Ricky Starks Texas Death Match, but then you can get the funny Toni Storm backstage interview, or you can have all these other, the neck strong stuff. what was it? Was it last week, 2 weeks ago, where fucking Adam Cole visits him in the hospital? They did that camera shot where Adam Cole was in the foreground and Roddy told him to wait, and then he just slowly lifts the thing
and
up.
it's going
Yeah,
making that weird sound.
and he's like, just go, and then it just goes back around. Like that stuff, it's so small, but like those are the types of things that you remember. I say this all the time. Like when people talk about their favorite moments in wrestling, a lot of them aren't matches. A lot of them are the fucking Stone Cold coming down in the beer truck, or
McMahon with the fucking bedpan. And
Roddy Piper smashing the coconut. Like it's that kind of stuff. A lot of times it's not really the matches. So you kind of need to build that stuff up, and that's what makes the show feel complete. So they're on the up and up with that kind of stuff now, and hopefully they will continue. But I mean, Toni Storm right now is knocking it out of the park. So much so that like it doesn't even really matter if she lost the match, right?
Yeah,
I mean, she's
still going to be over as shit.
She's the best thing going in that division. So,
yeah. So the main event for that night, MJF versus Samoa Joe. MJF retains a little bit of shenanigans on his part. And like you had said, it would be interesting to see how he has to play this when fighting, like basically as a face
against a monster.
Yeah.
And turns out he just cheats. Like he. So, I mean, that's the brilliance of MJF's character, is that he has become a babyface, but really has not changed anything. And that's just a testament to him as a performer and what AEW has built with him. And I mean, it makes sense, right? He's got to use the ring to kind of cheat. Because again, like when he was a bad guy, he never really was presented as like the best wrestler ever, right? I mean, there was always Danielson or all these other guys. So to see him kind of, stick to his roots, so to speak, and to also see him get Adam Cole involved in the mix with the cheating, and then Adam Cole. I mean, look, fluke injury. Do some stretching. What's up with all these dudes with knees and hamstrings? Everybody just like jumping off ramps, breaking shit. Punk jumps off the thing, breaks a damn ankle. Was it ankle?
Jumping in the crowd.
In the crowd. Adam Cole jumps off the ramp, come down, like jams his knee. What's the training staff? Get some stretches going on or something, guys. What's happening?
Yeah, so you could tell when he hit the ground, like, oh, that didn't look good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then
he's
like
hobbling
limping
around the ring trying to get up there. I was like, oh.
I bet that hurt like a son of a bitch, because the adrenaline will take you in that moment. Yeah. But after the fact, I bet it was like, damn.
Yeah, so I read, like, he left and went to the hospital after the show, and then today, right before you got here, Fightful was having, like, a press call with Tony, and Tony said that as of now, he's still scheduled to wrestle, and they'll have an announcement tomorrow night, so we'll see. I mean, Wednesday night during Dynamite, we'll see. Like, I was like, you have all this build up, and then you get a leg injury jumping off a damn ramp.
Yeah, I mean, they'll shoot him up with some stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
At that point, it might just be like a pain thing,
Yeah.
Where you got full range of movement. But no, this match was great too. The crowd obviously was behind MJF, his hometown, backyard too. I love the callback to the Bret Hart video with MJF. I mean, it's in the hallway with the kid. Just
tells the kid he's adopted.
Just fantastic stuff. I mean, look, a lot of people said this, but we'll give ourselves credit. I feel like we jumped on the MJF should be a babyface bandwagon way, way ahead of everybody else.
We were saying it when he came back from that extended hiatus.
Yeah.
He tried to come back as the devil, and we're like, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not buying this.
Turns out we were right. Turns out the crowd wanted to cheer him.
Yeah.
The crowd loves to cheer him.
You had that 20 seconds. Remember when he comes out in the jersey and he's playing everybody up? Was it in New York, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had on the Bills jersey.
Yeah, the Bills jersey, yep.
And we're like, oh, he's going to do. And you could tell then, like 30 seconds in, he's like, no, fuck this,
Yeah, he talks shit about Josh Allen and everything like that. No, like this is what, again, the AEW fan base responds first and foremost to good professional wrestling. And when you give it to them, they're going to cheer you. I mean, that is just how we now have ample evidence to back that up. I mean, this show's been on now for 3 years. It's happened with everybody from Eddie Kingston to Ricky Starks to MJF. I mean, all these guys who tried to be bad guys, and then all of a sudden they started doing good segments and the crowd started cheering them. the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, you can keep go on and on and on. So, yeah, great match. This is also a great use of Samoa Joe. I mean, this is what you bring him in for. He doesn't have to win the championship, but just like he is legendary enough that anytime you need to slate him up into the main event scene to fill a little gap, he can do it and he'll ace it every single time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of utility in bringing guys like that in, right? Like the Samoa Joes. Another dude, Christian Cage, is doing basically the exact same thing with the TNT title that Samoa Joe's doing.
Yeah, he's there. That match from Collision is actually next. So
yeah,
he officially gets the title.
Yeah. Officially now, in that official TNT champion.
So, he had a 3-way match with Darby and Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. I thought they were going to give it to Darby again. I honestly didn't think they'd give it to Cage, but, what are your thoughts on that?
You can't give it to Darby yet. You're already heavy with babyface champions, right? You talk about the Page and the Bucks have the trios title. The Acclaimed have the tag titles. MJF has the world title. Like Christian Cage is the heel that can carry that mid-card title. Listen, this man at 40, was he 48, 49? Probably doing the best work of his career. Looks like he's in the best shape he's ever been in.
He looks like $1 million.
I mean, I'm such a fan of this dude. We've been a fan of this guy for a long time now. It's just crazy this far into your career, you're still like doing the best work. That's kind of insane. It really doesn't happen in any other kind of industry.
It'll be fun to see if he and Edge get to play together again coming up soon.
And that's another reason why you don't take it off of him at this point. Like if Edge is about to walk through the door, a lot of people were speculating he might debut at Grand Slam, which obviously he didn't.
Right.
But, Full Gear is coming up in November.
Yeah. I don't know when his contract was up. I know it's up soon.
Yeah. So, yeah, that should be fun. I mean, two guys, Edge and Christian. The thing is going to be what do you do with them? You put them together. You put them against each other. What is the plan there? Because they have to interact. And does Tony learn from his past mistakes where, when the Hardy Boys came in, or the Hardys, everyone was like, oh, they should just immediately challenge for the tag titles. Obviously, they didn't. And then we know what happened with Jeff, and the Hardys have now become worse than an afterthought in AEW. I mean, they're really nothing.
Yeah.
So does Tony look at that and go, okay, well, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. If I'm going to have Edge come in here, we're doing like something with Christian from the get-go. Yeah, we're doing it quick. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. And again, Luchasaurus had a great showing. I think he's really benefited from being with Christian Cage. And then Darby is, one of the biggest stars in your company. Every time he's out there, he's going to shine and perform. So this was great. I'm liking what's happening with the TNT title. And we'll see how long Christian Cage, like you said, now the official TNT champion, how long he gets to ride with this title here.
Yeah, he's still fucking around with Nick Wayne, too, trying to get his attention.
And that, when Nick Wayne joins, that will be something.
Yeah.
I still think, we said it, I think 2 weeks ago, that's the move for Nick Wayne.
So they get all these young guys with all this potential and then turn them heel like they did with Takeshita. That still bothers me, but I'm like, you can see it coming. Like Nick's going to turn on Darby.
Yeah, because like I said a couple weeks ago, it's just too obvious for Nick Wayne to be this white meat babyface. Like he needs something else that's going to help him. And I think Takeshita has benefited from being with Don Callis too. Like they're, wrestling, you want these dudes to be able to fill multiple roles and to play multiple positions. And for them to do that and get better at it, they actually physically need to do it. And like Takeshita is a heel. It fucking comes out in black. He's already damn 6'4", 250 pounds. He can just beat the shit out of anybody. Yeah. Nick Wayne, you're gonna have to get there to convince the crowd that he's a bad guy, right? But standing next to Christian Cage, I mean, if you put Nick Wayne in a turtleneck standing beside Christian Cage, he's going to get heat. It's just going to happen. Okay. Like we said, especially if he starts talking bad about his dead dad, like that will get people to hate him.
Bulk him up a little bit.
Yeah. And it gives him something to do, than just like, get his ass whooped and sell, which he's great at. I mean, he's fantastic, but, he's going to need something else to get better in his career.
So Next up, we've got the return of our man's Andrade. He's in a bout with Jay White. Jay gets the win thanks to like a fuck ton of help from Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah.
Card Blade, like you mentioned, they got to be selling these. I don't know if they're selling them yet, but there were a couple of them in the crowd the other night.
If they ain't selling them, people, it's bootleg, and AEW's missing out on some money.
Because there were at least two of them. They're about a foot and a half tall. People were just holding up in front of the hard cam.
Yeah.
They gotta be selling those things soon.
Man, Bullet Club Gold, every week, they just get better. They keep gelling as a unit. It gets funnier and funnier. I mean, look, now that Collision has a CM Punk-sized hole in it about who's going to fill it, you know, it not bad when you can turn to Bullet Club Gold, Bryan Danielson, and Ricky Starks. I mean, those are kind of the three acts on Collision right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this match with Andrade and Jay White was just fantastic. I want to see more of Andrade. Like
we get Andrade versus Juice this Saturday.
Yeah, he needs to be on there every week. Just keep putting him on television. Keep putting Bullet Club Gold on television. Like you said, ton of help. Bullet Club Gold screwing our man Andrade over. But like, people don't really like these two fucking dudes and Jay White and Andrade. They're so good. Like, and it's the little things like being in the right position at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Having your moves flow to where it looks impressive, but it doesn't look staged. It still looks like a struggle, still looks like a fight. And Jay White, the thing that has impressed me so much about him is just his psychology of being a heel. You even saw it in the match Saturday night. Like, most of the times whenever a bad dude has to cheat to win and his friends like help him, hit him with something, the bad dude immediately covers. The referee goes, counts 1, 2, 3, right? What's Jay White do? Juice hits Andrade. Jay White picks him up, hits him with a Blade Runner, and then pin him. So the ref can't be like, oh, obviously something bad happened. Be like, oh, I missed something, and this is the finish, and 1, 2, 3. Like, it's the small little details like that Andrade gets, or that Jay White gets.
And then the aftermath, Juice was down there barking at him like a dog and lifted his leg up on him like he was taking a piss on his head. I was just rolling.
It's great stuff. Austin Gunn gets like a half a shade more tan every single time he's on TV. It's just, these dudes are absolutely fantastic. They're going to get, they're going to get crowd reactions. There's going to be a lot of like guns up in the crowd.
There's still some
soon.
ass boys chants.
It's fading though.
Yeah.
It's fading because I think people are like, okay, we didn't know about you at first. We thought, oh, Nepo kids, you're Billy Gunn's kids. Now people are seeing like, okay, these dudes are actually good.
Yeah, and they got good chemistry. It probably doesn't hurt them that they're working with fucking Jay White and Juice Robinson.
No, but they're the perfect people to sit with. And like I said in our group chat that we got with shout out to Steven. Now with the WWE releases, if you're going to sign somebody from WWE, and I know this is not a gag, I'm kind of being absolutely serious about this. Rick Boogs needs to fucking join Bullet Club Gold because you can probably get him for super cheap. And that group is missing a dude like him that can just be a fucking heater. And I think his personality, his charisma, he can come in.
Just imagine he and fucking Juice feeding.
Oh, bro, he can come in and just beat the shit out of people. And
they need a hoss.
Yeah, they need a hoss. They need somebody.
That's funny as shit. And like you said, you probably get him for cheap.
Yeah, because he's not like he's not going to command the type of money that Jade Cargill got with WWE, which we'll talk about that coming up soon. Like, he's going to be a minimum type of dude that you can bring in that I think would really gel with that unit.
Yeah. Well, the last one for the night is Danielson versus Starks. Everything we figured it would be in the Texas death match. Danielson gets the win. Danielson is having the time of his life.
This is what happens when you let artists just play. Like, he's getting to do whatever he wants to do. This program with Ricky Starks, I was kind of on the fence about bad guy Ricky Starks. I still am a little bit. I think that, he's better suited as a babyface. The crowd wants to cheer for him.
They still are.
They still are. and credit to him for taking this and running with it. This has been a hell of a program between these two guys. And Ricky is, it's tough to say he's like poised for a breakout because I feel like he's already had these types of moments, right? But you got to think he's getting real close to the point where like that company sees him as a guy. And probably they already do, but I'm talking about like at a top tier.
Yeah, I think it was this one, and then there was one 2 weeks ago. We basically said the same thing. We're like, this is his fucking turning point right here.
Yeah. I mean, because he has the talent of Danielson. He's got the talent of Moxley. He should be viewed as one of those guys. This was fantastic. The Psycho knee with the damn chain around the right, it looked brutal as shit. Ricky bleeding from the mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that when you retire and they roll your highlight clip, they're going to show that, right? You bleeding from the mouth, that kind of shit. And yeah, it's crazy that like WWE presented Bryan Danielson as like this underdog for his whole career, right? And he gets to AEW and they're like, no, this dude's a fucking, he's the man. Yeah, no, he's unbeatable. He's the tip of the mountain in AEW. And it's just wild that like the two different companies saw him in two completely different ways because he's just a fucking psychopath in AEW. I mean, he's back to his Ring of Honor days, which makes sense, right? Because fucking all these dudes that came after him, they're all stealing from Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about with Danielson and Samoa Joe and CM Punk, like, these are the dudes that influence all the guys you're watching on TV right now. Like all of them, fucking from Rollins and Moxley, all these dudes, they're all underneath the Danielson, Punk, and Samoa Joe tree, that early 2000s Ring of Honor. So, yeah, it's fun to watch Bryan Danielson get to do what he wants. And it's just kind of a joy to be alive when he's fucking doing these matches in real time because it's insane to watch.
Yeah, I think the next year leading up to his retirement is just going to be filled with nothing but heaters.
He has to have the belt. I know we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but like, if you giving me the pencil, the booking for Bryan Danielson for his last year is I'm doing something nobody else is going to do. I'm going to retire as a champion. Well,
and it kind of sounds too, we talked about this last time we recorded, was that he's kind of, they haven't officially said it, but they're like, he's just going to do what he wants. And like, he's pretty much in charge of Collision at this point since Punk isn't there.
Yeah.
So, you got one of the greatest wrestling minds ever with the fucking stable. I mean, it's not, the talent is there.
Yeah.
Especially if you can borrow from Dynamite now.
Yeah.
Where they were going to have quote unquote a split. That's out the fucking window.
Yeah. And just to think about all the opponents he can have. I mean, we can run back Danielson MJF. We can run Danielson Cole, Danielson and Edge. We can circle back Danielson Omega. Like, I'm down to see all this stuff.
Let's go.
Danielson Swerve. I mean, all these guys.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, if you only got a year of Bryan Danielson wrestling full time, I think he's got to some way get his hands on that AEW World title and just be like, no, there's somebody that has to beat me for this fucking championship. And maybe that's where Ricky starts. Maybe in, a year from now, 18 months, maybe that's where Ricky finally gets.
Yeah. Gets that win over Danielson.
Gets that win over. And Danielson, hands over the championship and kind of rides off into the sunset and becomes a semi-timer, part-timer.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about now. Let's switch gears to WWE for the week. A lot of stuff happening. I only have one match to talk about, and I'll get to why in a minute. But Asuka versus Io Sky, and Sky retained the championship that night on SmackDown on Friday. There's a disconnect for me right now with WWE, and I've been trying to think about it all day. And Roman hasn't been on TV lately. They've brought back Cena, and he's wrestled a little bit. They brought back The Rock the other night for that. He was there once. Looks like he'll probably be there a few more times, especially while there's nothing for him to do work-wise since they're still on strike. But
well, that ended, the strike, so that's a big thing.
The writers ended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the actors.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, that's all right. Well, then there you go.
Yeah, so that's probably not far behind.
Yeah.
But how quickly are they going to get thrown back into that, right?
Right.
I mean, probably pretty quick because these people want paychecks, but
yeah,
or some of them, most of them need the paychecks.
Right.
People like The Rock can fuck off on TV for a while and not hurt. But like, the LA Knight had COVID the other night and wasn't on the show, and it just there's a weird disconnect, and something is not hitting for me with WWE right now, and I can't really decide what it is. Maybe it's because there's so many people off the show. Ripley hasn't been there in a week or two. Something just feels weird for me right now. And maybe it's just because there's so many people out.
I think it just has a lot to do with, like, this is what happens when your biggest star is not there every week and the title isn't on TV every week. I mean, Roman Reigns has been, now he's done this for a couple of years now, but yeah, when he's not there, the show kind of has to figure out what it's going to be about. And it's about all these things that kind of have to do with him, but don't necessarily involve him, right? So on SmackDown, you get, it's Jimmy and it's Solo, and they're like, we'll call Roman Reigns. And like, so he's like orbiting around this thing, but he's not actually there at all.
And then Cody hints that he's still got his thing happening with Roman down the line.
Yeah. And so like they're all... Stretching is probably not the right word, but it does feel like they're at least delaying it. Like they know where they want to go, but they got to wait till January to start it back up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like in the meantime, we're going to have Jay and Sammy and KO and Cody go up against a Judgment Day. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But like, we're waiting on Cody to fight Roman though. Like everybody know, like that's what we're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it does feel like they're sort of padding a little bit, especially when like, it feels worse because they're not physically able with their intense schedule to have the kind of work rate that AEW can have, right? So like AEW can spiral and they can still fucking give you Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson in a Texas death match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you can be like, okay, shit, well, not a lot of story happening, but like, damn, that match was good. WWE doesn't do that. So if they don't have the stories, they really don't have anything kind of going for them. So maybe that's kind of what you're feeling a little bit. Just like, it's football season and we're just going to kind of buy our time till we get to the Royal Rumble and start this thing back up again.
Yeah. And then the show the other night was weird because like LA Knight was supposed to be announced as John Cena's partner since, AJ Styles got jumped by Jimmy and Solo.
Yeah.
Well, then fucking LA Knight had COVID and wasn't there. So the show just felt strange. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, well, we're going to find out and then the next day they're like, yeah, that's what it was supposed to happen. But he was sick and couldn't be at the building.
And, morale too. You got to think they've had all these roster cuts now.
Yeah. Which was what we were going to try to get to next. A lot of folks lost jobs the other day.
Which sucks.
You mentioned Boogs maybe would be a good pickup to put in Bullet Club Gold. We kind of did this in the text thread the other day, talking about who would you sign? No more than one or two of them, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, at the top of that list would probably be a guy like Dolph Ziggler, that I think would fit. That fits in AEW. And a guy like Dolph might have something to prove also, because you got to think about, like, Dolph's always been, he's still the show guy, right? Mr. Steal the Show. But he's never really had a lot of, like, classic matches that you can, like, think of, like, right off the top of your head. I mean, he's had moments, right? The cash-in against Alberto Del Rio is probably one of the greatest cash-ins that company's ever seen. So is he a guy that would be motivated to kind of come in and be like, okay, I want to work with Danielson. I want to work with Moxley. I want to work with some of these young guys. I want to have a fucking match with Sammy Guevara, But is he the caliber star that those guys have been that have come in? No, but if he gets in there and like I said, he starts putting on classics and he starts going fucking 35, 40 minutes the way he can do in AEW that he couldn't do in WWE. And his promos is like, hey, I've been able to do this for a while. Like, I think you can find, you can find some gold there with him. Everybody else though is just kind of like I said, I mentioned Boogs because I think he would just fit, his personality would just fit with fucking with AEW and with Bullet Club Gold. But like, all the people that are let go from NXT, like I don't necessarily know if you want any of those people. Because again, like if they can't wrestle, they're not going to get over in AEW.
Right.
The fan base is different. Like whether you like it or not, like the fundamental difference between AEW and WWE, AEW uses their matches to tell stories in and of themselves. In WWE, the matches are just, they come along with the stories, but there's not really anything that kind of happens inside the matches themselves, especially on like Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah. The one person that I think I pulled from the list was Mustafa Ali.
And he could be another guy.
I think he would do well in AEW.
Yeah.
Dude can go hard. I think he could put on the kind of matches that the AEW fans would like to see.
Yeah.
We've talked on this show a couple different times about when Kofi's run was supposed to be Ali's run.
Yeah.
And he got injured. I think Samoa Joe fucked him up. I was there that night. I think that happened in Birmingham. Joe threw him in a fucking ring post.
Yeah.
Fucked him up. But yeah, I'd really like to see him get a good shot. I feel like he was somebody that just never really got the chance in WWE.
Yeah. Who else are we missing that got released? Dolph Ziggler, Ali. There's Boogs. There's a bunch of. I feel like there was one other kind of bigger name, bigger star.
There were a bunch of them I didn't recognize, which had to do with.
I'm about to say a lot of them were like NXT people that we didn't.
Yeah.
We don't watch NXT just because there's so much wrestling going on.
Well, Riddle got dropped, which I do not want to see him in AEW.
I wouldn't touch Riddle
whatsoever. I don't think we didn't actually post. I thought we posted the full list in our group chat, but we didn't.
Dolph's brother's also in AEW.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got a made-in story there.
Shelton Benjamin. Right?
Shelton Benjamin would be another guy.
I
think it was Shelton and Dolph were the two that I was thinking about. And Shelton could be a possibility. Shelton was in New Japan at the time. The Bucks and Omega and all those guys were in New Japan too. So that could be a name. Shelton Benjamin's always been one of my favorites. Always probably massively underrated and underutilized, probably is what I should say, from what he probably was capable of. But yeah, that there's only a handful of names, and like with anything in AEW, we talk about all the time. You start signing too many of these guys, like a lot of them will kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to sustain a roster that big when you only have 5 hours of programming that really matters. I mean, we have Rampage and stuff like that, but like that's a lot to chew through. You got a big roster. WWE can handle a little bit more of that, right? Just because they got so many. I mean, it's 3 hours on Monday. It's NXT. I mean, they're fucking Becky Lynch is doing NXT shit now. Like they got a lot of different ways they can use people. So, and now they've brought in, they did the roster cuts, and then Jade Cargill comes walking through the door. They officially announced that today.
Yeah. There was video already on their TikTok. I'm going to be interested to see how that works out because she clearly has the look.
I think she's better suited for WWE. I think she's really going to shine.
Yeah. She doesn't have to go out there and put on the matches that we expect as AEW fans.
Well, no, and it's just like, different people are suited to different types of things. You can relate it to sports. It's sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Sometimes you're playing out of your style. You don't fit in the scheme of what the coaches want or whatever. So yeah, I mean, if you were to look at her, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a WWE superstar. Like I said, like she looks like she could be in movies, and that's the biggest thing. It's a huge part. She looks like a huge crossover mainstream star. I don't know what their plans are for. I think the reports were she was going to start in NXT. I think
the last I heard was they were just putting her directly on the main roster,
which is probably what they should do. So yeah, we will see what happens with her. I'll be down to see Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Have they announced her name? What's her name going to be?
I haven't seen it.
And Jade Cargill's her actual name, I think. So they could always just do that, but
yeah, Riddle doesn't seem like much of a surprise in him being cut. You know, because there were a lot of people that first day that all the cuts were announced. Everybody's like, so they released Ziggler and Ali, but not Riddle.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it comes down to how many chances are we going to give you?
Yeah.
You know, and I guess now they made the decision. They gave him enough, and it's time to go. I don't see him getting signed anywhere else, especially in AEW. With as combustible as what that locker room is,
Yeah.
and can be, there's no way you bring in people who are even questionable at this point.
Yeah, I think if were we not this hot off the heels of the Punk incident, Khan would consider it, but he'd be childish.
But you have to think about this also. Matt Riddle was in PWG. Who was in PWG at the time? Excalibur, the Young Bucks, Adam Cole. Like, he ran in all those circles there for a little bit. So
I just don't like the dude either. Like,
I mean, I think he's talented. He's got a look about him. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, again, like, is this dude going to do something stupid? Is he, you know, he's got so many question marks. I don't know if he's worth it at this point.
yeah. Well, I know you've got to get out early. You got some things happening. Is there anything else you think we should cover before we wrap it up for the week? Just glad to be back.
Glad to be back. I know we mentioned LA Knight a little bit before. Like, LA Knight name dropped Roman Reigns 2 weeks ago. I mean, like we talked about, you're gonna
Saw him
need
backstage with Heyman.
You're gonna need something. I mean, he looks like he's ready for it to go up against in a main time program against Roman Reigns. Like I mentioned too briefly, it's cool to see all the good guys team up against Judgment Day. That was cool to see on Monday Night Raw. Judgment Day pulling double duty on all the shows. Now they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
It looks like they're going to do the thing where they screw Damian Priest out of the Money in the Bank contract. I don't remember. Now I don't think I imagined this. They showed a backstage segment where they opened up the briefcase and showed the contract, right?
Maybe I don't remember. Yeah.
I can't remember them ever doing that before. So, like, the only reason you're going to show the contracts in a briefcase is that, like, you're going to make a story where at some point the contract is not in that briefcase and there's somebody else is in possession of it. Yeah. So,
that's one of those other bullshit things that I don't like, where, like, you know, Miz or who was it? The Miz, I think it was the Miz, stole the briefcase from Otis a couple years ago when Otis won it. I'm like, well, that just because you have it doesn't mean that it's yours. Otis won the goddamn thing. Like,
yeah.
Anybody with any sense would be like, okay, this is still, it's Otis's to lose.
And like in kayfabe, how does that actually work? Like, is the Money in the Bank contract just blank and like you have to like sign your name? Because if that's the case, why would you not just do that at the beginning and be like,
yeah,
open it up, sign your name, be like, nobody can take it because now it's my contract. Otis, yeah. His legal name is just Otis.
Otis.
No, it's just one name.
Yeah.
So yeah, whenever they decide to have that come to a head between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, I think that'll be good between those two guys. We got another awesome promo from Shinsuke. Gonna be a last man standing with Seth Rollins. Gonna run it back. Do they pull? I don't know if they pull the trigger this time. I don't know if the injury to Rollins is legit. If he actually needs some time off,
I don't know
what they're gonna do there.
If they don't do it this time, then they need to end the Nakamura and Rollins, feud. Yeah,
again, like I think we're just kind of biding our time, kind of spinning wheels here till we get to something else. Yeah. And then of course we got The Rock. That's what we missed on our podcast 2 weeks ago. The Rock came back. That pop was massive. I mean, if you had any question in your mind, like that, how big of a superstar The Rock is, like when that music hit, that crowd.
Well, and he's come out and said, they had him lined up for Mania, and it just didn't happen.
Listen, if they're gonna do Rock and Roman this time, this go around WrestleMania in Philadelphia, here's what I want WWE to do. I just want WWE to then tell me, hey, you can check out till 2 months before WrestleMania. Because all this shit that you've been watching this whole year with Cody and finishings, none of it matters. Doesn't matter. We'll let you know when it actually is going to matter. We're just going to tease you along.
Yeah. You've seen the memes of like 87-year-old Cody and stuff, right? Cody with the old gray beard. He's like, I got to finish the story.
Yeah, like, I don't know. So let's say, for instance, you do have Rock and Roman lined up for WrestleMania. Then I think unquestionably what you have to do is you go to Roman and you go to Cody and you be like, you're working both nights of WrestleMania. All right. We're going to do Roman and Rock night 1. We're going to do Cody and John Cena night 1. Whoever wins, that's what the main event is going to be. And you build it up. It's like a mini tournament between these 4 guys. And then, of course, Roman beats Rock, Cody beats John Cena. Then you can do night 2, Cody versus Roman. Like, it can't just be Roman versus Rock and that's it. Like, this WrestleMania has to fucking end with Cody Rhodes winning the championship. There is no other way around it. Like, and he even referenced it, like, we're not in the 3rd inning anymore, boys. Like, this Roman having the title hostage and keeping it off TV for months at a time, it can't happen next year. It just can't. We're running out of steam. We've told this story all the way through. That championship needs to be on television every single week, being defended. It just needs to be present in that universe. It can't be off TV for so long.
Yeah.
But all the Austin Theory stock that I sold off, I kind of want to get a little bit of it back. I thought Austin Theory was great in that segment, by the way, against The Rock. I thought he held his own with Pat McAfee. I was like, oh shit, he got off some zingers. I was like, okay, maybe fucking John Cena whooping his ass on the microphone live TV kind of woke something up in this kid. Like, okay, like you're supposed to be the dude. Like, go out there. And I thought he stood toe to toe with The Rock. I thought he looked great.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, I mean, I shouldn't have stole off all that Austin Theory stock I had. Maybe get a little bit of it back.
Yeah, well, maybe him, running this tag team with Grayson Waller for a
and
little
even
bit might
Grayson
help
Waller.
too, yeah.
Grayson Waller fucking ends the show, the same show with against John Cena, right?
Yeah.
And also Grayson Waller, just hilarious. There's all the chaos is happening in the ring, and he's just chilling behind the desk, cheering it on. I thought that was fantastic. That guy's growing on me too. He's clearly got something.
Yeah.
I don't like dudes that wrestle in like shorts though. Kevin Owens is like the only dude that can do that. Everybody else, you can't wear shorts anymore. It was like Ring of Honor, CM Punk, Kevin Owens. Only 2 dudes in wrestling history ever got over in shorts. You got to get some tights, Grayson.
So Darby Allin in shorts and tights ain't working.
But his shorts are like, he got the leggings underneath them too.
Yeah.
Waller is just in basketball shorts. He needs another piece of gear.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about Wheeler Yuta. We gave him shit. We're like, nobody gets over in just straight tennis shoes. And he changed his gear.
Samoa Joe's aren't, they're shorts, but they're not shorts.
They're kickboxing shorts.
Okay.
They're the Muay Thai. They're the fucking, they got to see they're a thing. It's a whole thing.
Okay. Because you can see there's like some tights under it or something.
Yeah.
happening.
He's got because they got the little slit up
Gotcha,
the side of
yeah.
them when you throw them kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's.
Well, I think that's going to do it. We're glad to be back. Y'all follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Threads, also at Alabama Slam Pod. You can search us on Facebook, the Alabama Slam Podcast. We're part of a network of other podcasters at thealabamatake.com. You can follow the Alabama Take on all socials with weekly updates about who's releasing what day. We've got wrestling podcasts, Star Wars podcasts, TV podcasts, book podcasts, 2 sports podcasts, and I think the season of This Song Sucks is just wrapping up, if it didn't wrap up already. We would appreciate a follow over there as well. You can get t-shirts. Go to tpublic.com and just search either Alabama Slam or the Alabama Take. The Alabama Take has a store with shirts for all of our podcasts over there. We'd appreciate it. And the proceeds off of those shirts go to help maintaining the cost of the website per year, which has apparently gone up and is not as cheap as it once was. So we'd appreciate that. Tell your friends about us if you like what we're doing. A lot of wrestling happening this week. Wrestle Dream Sunday night.
I think it's Sunday. Yeah.
I think I'm almost positive Sunday, and then Fastlane's the week after on Saturday. Some more exciting stuff coming up with it. AEW. Juice Robinson, Andrade is going to be the shit, I'm sure. Just keep running us Bullet Club Gold and Andrade matches every Saturday.
Just have them run through all the people.
Yeah, we'll keep watching. Well, y'all, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Later, guys.